Hi there, my fellow YouTubians. It's been almost a week since we posted the last installment of our Scorsese series, but now we are jumping from the mid 70s up to this last decade, 2002 as a matter of fact. It would have been 2001 if it hadn't been delayed for an entire year. I'm not exactly sure why that was. I read something about it, but I don't remember. But Gangs of New York. Gangs of New York is what we're doing today. I thought I should mention that when vrose said, "Yeah, let's do the Scorsese series together," and mentioned that she'd only seen the one, I sort of took it upon myself to make a few selections for the both of us. I felt that there were a selection of Scorsese films that we really should cover. As opposed to covering just because we felt like it. A few movies that I felt were the most important in Scorsese's career, and one of these is Gangs of New York. It was nominated for Best Picture. Scorsese was nominated for Best Director. He lost to, I believe, Roman Polanski was nominated for The Pianist that year. But this is a film that Scorsese had actually been wanting to make, I believe, since the late 70s. This was a period of time in New York City that was very fascinating to him, and he had been wanting to make a movie a movie that's in this setting for a long, long time, and he finally got the opportunity to do that with this film. Um, I am not a big fan of this movie, all in all. There's a lot to admire about it. It's very, very ambitious. Just the sets alone, just the production design alone is just incredible. And Daniel Day-Lewis is a towering giant in this movie. He won he was nominated for Best Actor for this part, and he won for There Will Be Blood as well as for Mila Foot back in the early '90s. But I really kind of think that I prefer this performance to him. He is just so incredibly powerful, so commanding. There's a scene in this movie where he and his gang, all his boys, are in basically the town square, what they call the Five Points, and they're being introduced to a couple of well-to-do types that are visiting. And he greets them and he says hello to them, and he's standing there and talking, and just everyone's focus is on him. And then, after I like the scene so much, I rewound the disc and watched that scene again. And as it turns out, Leonardo DiCaprio, the main character, is standing right next to him, and I didn't even notice he was there. It's just like, "Oh, how do you do, Mr. Cutting?" And he's like, "As of this moment, extremely well. Orange blossom, delicious," and he's just charming the pants off of everybody. And DiCaprio, man. Well, this was the first film that Scorsese had done with DiCaprio, actually. And at the time, I really didn't think that he was well suited for this part. Now I'm used to him. I'm used to seeing him in this role, and I'm used to seeing him in roles like this, where he plays kind of this volatile, seething guy who could fly into a rage and beat people up at a moment's notice. I'm just like, what, Leonardo DiCaprio playing this kind of character? I just don't buy it. No matter how much facial hair he grows, he still looks like a very tall, slender kid. I mean, and even recently, I mean, he just did Shutter Island and Inception, he had the little goatee going on. He still looks like kind of like a kid. That's always going to be something that's going to give me trouble taking him seriously in some of these parts. Now, Catch Me If You Can, that's a different story. He plays a 17-year-old in Catch Me If You Can. I have no trouble buying him as a 17-year-old suburban kid. Slick though he may be, really good at putting people on and telling lies. But yeah, as a brawler, I'm not so sure. And I think that some of this has to do with the involvement of Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein and his brother Bob Weinstein ran Miramax Films until recently. They now have their own company, the Weinstein Company. And Harvey is notorious for buying up foreign movies and then slicing the heck out of them before he distributes them, or else keeping them out of movie theaters and out of video stores until he gets a chance to do his own American remake and then releasing them. A lot of people really hate him. He also does incredibly aggressive campaigns for Oscars. There was a lot of animosity towards him in 1999 because one of his films, Shakespeare in Love, beat Saving Private Ryan to Best Picture that year, and a lot of people felt that Saving Private Ryan should have won Best Picture. they put it down to a lot of the extremely aggressive campaigning tactics that Harvey used in order to promote that movie and get votes. And I'm just like, well, dude, you could always still vote for Saving Private Ryan, no matter how many, how much marketing they do. Anyway, I'm getting off track there. In any case, Harvey Weinstein, of course, as was one of the producers on this movie, not just a studio executive, was the producers. And I have a feeling that a lot of his influence led to some rather serious compromises in the telling of the story. First of all, casting of DiCaprio. Now, obviously, that's yielded dividends for Scorsese himself and DiCaprio because they've worked together another 3 times and probably will work together again. I don't think that DiCaprio's in Scorsese's last film, the film that he's making now, which is called The Invention of Hugo Cabret. But clearly they love working together, so that's good. But oftentimes I feel DiCaprio's miscast in some of these parts. And in addition to this, there's also the inclusion of the girl. Harvey Weinstein is probably like, look, Marty, we will sell a lot more tickets. There'll be a lot more box office viability if we have a girl, a love interest in this movie, What about Cameron Diaz? A lot of people like her. She's really great. Everyone, finds her appealing. She just doesn't belong in this movie. She looks so out of place and, she's dyed her hair and she's got the accent going on, but she's Cameron Diaz, It's just really hard to by them in this period of time. Whereas Daniel Day-Lewis, he's got hair plastered down all over his forehead, and he really just sinks into the character, He's got so many great moments, so many scenes I would back up the disc and watch just how he says a line again, He says, the Ghoul Gang, that's a notice you can be proud of, Oh, and then there's that scene where he brings them the dead rabbit, and he says, I want you to go out. I want you, none of your little minions. I want you to go out and punish the person who's responsible for murdering this poor little rabbit. You understand? Yeah, you can't top that. That's great. Not even There Will Be Blood tops that one. So top marks for Daniel Day-Lewis, of course, and this is actually the second movie he made with Scorsese. He also did a period drama, another period drama, but a much more refined one in 1993 called The Age of Innocence, which was also delayed by an entire year. That's really strange. That was with Michelle Pfeiffer and Winona Ryder. He plays a upper crust member of society at that point, not a guy who will viciously beat people and knife them and throw hatchets into their backs and things like that. So top marks for him, and there's some epic, grand scenes in this movie, big, huge brawls, and there's this terrific shot which basically follows a bunch of Irish immigrants as they get off the boat, having just landed in America, and they immediately are led over to a table where they signed on their citizenship cards, and then they are signed on the dotted line to join the military, join the army, and then they're immediately fitted with uniforms and given rifles, and they're immediately put back on a boat so they can go sail on down to Tennessee and fight in the Civil War. It's nuts. And as they're getting on the boat, there's coffins of dead soldiers being taken off. That's a great shot. That's an unbelievable shot. There's a lot of long, really kind of extended things going on here. So I admire the movie, I think that this last time I watched it was the third time. It was probably on this occasion that I like it the most, but I still have some basic problems with it. Not least of which is DiCaprio doesn't look anything like Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson plays DiCaprio's father. It's funny because throughout the movie, Liam Neeson's only in the first 15 minutes, but they talk about him throughout the entire movie, and it just seems like DiCaprio's never going to be able to live up to that character, and he tries desperately, or at least he, it's a revenge film. It's a pretty straightforward revenge movie. He gets in with a gang. Daniel Day-Lewis trusts him. There's all kinds of drama involving what's he really doing, where's his head at, and then there's, a big sort of duel at the end. All in all, I think they could have done something different with the storyline. I really found the setting very interesting, and I really admire the viciousness of it. This is just a really hard scrabble time to live in, and everyone was just at each other's throats constantly. Very little civility in this supposed civilization. So it's very, very interesting. All in all, I think, though, in the end, it's a pretty thoroughly compromised movie in a number of different ways. So far from one of my favorites of Scorsese, but it's a very important film in his career, just because it was one of those things that he wanted to do so much, and yeah, had the opportunity finally to portray that society. Was good on him for that. That's great. So yeah, lots more to look forward to. I have been watching a bunch of older Scorsese movies that I haven't seen in 10 years or more, and man, it's just fascinating coming back and seeing it. I feel I have a greater appreciation now for so much of what he's done that I didn't back when I was in my 20s or whatever when I first saw it. So looking forward to more, and looking very much forward to seeing what the heck vrose thought of Gangs of New York. Yeah, very interested to hear about that. So her link is in the description. Please go check her out, and hopefully we'll have another video up for you on Scorsese very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Later.